All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Win or Lose podcast. We're here with my next guest for the second episode, Joe Nation himself, down there in Christchurch, New Zealand. Joe, how's it going?
Yeah, pretty good, thanks, mate. Yeah, we've done a pretty good job here in New Zealand of, getting rid of this pandemic pretty fast by the looks. So we're out in the bikes and it's going well.
Yeah, New Zealand's actually ahead of the curve, they reckon, at this point.
Yeah. Just into the PM's done a good job, and we got into lockdown really early, and we just sort of seem to have it under control. So it's nice. We're loosening off our lockdown sort of rules and out in the bikes again. The bike park's open, so can't complain over here, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's not too bad. But coming into winter now.
Yeah, coming into winter. It's been a pretty good weather so far though, but it's just going to change. Just making the most while it can, really.
Yeah. Are you going to get the skis out or what?
Yeah, might have to give it a crack, hey? If the ski fields are open.
It would have been a while since you had a winter.
Yeah, it has been. It's been 5 or so years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll have a few bloody skills to brush up on the skis, that's for sure.
Yeah. Wow. So Joe, you've lived in Christchurch your whole life, really. What is it about Christchurch that held you there?
Yeah, it's I was born in Wanganui, but came down when I was about 5, and
didn't want to stay in Wangas, mate.
Nah, sorry, there was not enough going on. So came down to Christchurch, and yeah, it's a good spot. I have dabbled in like a summer of riding in Queenstown. Can't complain about that. That's good. But Christchurch has sort of got everything we need. I do a bit of road in the off season, and it's got all the gyms, and it's pretty cheap to live in the big city. And now we got a bike park with a chairlift at the doorstep, so pretty hard to beat, really.
Yeah, it is a pretty good place for training.
Yeah.
But I went to school in Wanganui, so you missed out on the growing up in Wanganui side of things with myself and Sam Blinkersop.
Yeah.
and my brother as well.
I know, it would have been a hell of a career. I probably would have got into mountain biking a bit younger. I didn't get into it until I was like 16 or so maybe if I was up there would have been a bit more of a community about it, eh?
Yeah, there was a good community there for sure. But I guess there's not much else to do in Wanganui, so that's all we had to do.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But so you say you started at 16. How come so late? Like, what took you so long to discover it?
Yeah, I just didn't know it was a thing, to be honest. I was just doing the usual Kiwi thing. I was playing cricket in the summer, rugby in the winter.
Yeah.
And then about 15 or 14, you're just not growing any bigger, and you're just getting pummeled on the rugby field. And then my brother's mate actually came around, Joe Allen, and he had a downhill bike, yeah. And I was like, what on earth is that thing, So I jumped straight on it, just started charging up and down gutters, and I was like, yeah, got to give this a go. And then, went in up to Victoria Park here in Christchurch, and basically just quit the rugby and cricket team straight away and just started going for it with biking,
Yeah. And then you got straight into downhill racing from the start, or?
Pretty much, yeah. There was a good year on a hardtail, just bashing myself and my bike around, and then managed to get my hands on Joe Allen's old downhill bike actually, and went straight in. I had a good crew that were right into it. James Hampton, and just a good sort of bunch of guys that we just live and breathe it down here. Just in the weekends, just hang out all weekend and ride, and then that just turned into racing. Not really in a competitive side, just to get around and see the new tracks and go to Queenstown and Wanaka and all that stuff that you want to do when you're young. So and then with the racing, you start wanting to go faster pretty fast.
How long did it take before you started taking the races or getting a bit more serious with the racing? Like at that young, because I remember you came through junior pretty good. You're going pretty good as a junior.
Yeah, it was like my last year in under 19.
Yeah.
Which was basically my first or second year racing nationals, so I was still pretty new to it all.
Yeah.
And I definitely wouldn't have been serious. Probably not as serious as you North Island boys, that's for sure. But,
well, you missed a few years on us. I started racing at 11, so yeah, you're 5 years behind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I heard all about you North Island boys, like, and how fast, and heard rumours that you'd even trained and stuff like that. So shit, no way.
but I don't know what bike you had back then. It might have been an orange.
Yeah, an orange. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then but even before that, it was a GT DHI.
Oh yeah.
And we're on the way up to the race that sort of turned it around for me would have been national champs in Fringe Hill and Nelson.
Yeah.
And to give you an idea of how little of a clue my mates or I had, we were on the way up and my forks weren't working at all, and we had to put engine oil in the car that we were taking up. And I was like, oh, well, you got that oil out, I may as well give my forks a service.
so you just filled them up?
Yeah, just filled them up to the brim, emptied out the old stuff, the old spring, and just filled it up to the brim. Had a bounce, like, still not working. Like, slapped
they
it
would
on,
have been
and
ramping
then,
up quite well.
Oh yeah, the 3 centimeters I was running was feeling good.
Yeah.
But then I ended up coming second in the national champs there, and then it was like a big wake up call. Like, shit, this is pretty cool.
With the rigid forks.
Yeah. I think that helped me actually. All the whoops of Fringe.
It might have prepared you for those later years on the Bergamont with the Manitous on the front.
Yeah. I don't mind a bit of rough travel up front,
Just like it hard up the front, eh?
Yeah.
But what year was that actually, that national champs?
I think it must have been about 06 national champ. And
I remember that one.
And then I was and then there was like Oceanias and Threadbow after that, and then Bike NZ put me in the team. I suppose they had to because I came second, so went over there. And it was couldn't hang on over there, but
it's a rough track.
I was into it then. I just had no body for it. I couldn't hang on for anything over 3 minutes like New Zealand.
Yeah, but I think I remember you on that orange. You just pedal all around Christchurch. Because I'm pretty sure every time I was down there for the nationals, we'd just see you riding somewhere on that downhill bike.
I didn't mind a commute, but
do you just ride to the race every day? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, pretty much. But I still was moaning about my fitness. I still thought, like, in the pedally sections of the downhill courses that I was losing time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's what everyone thinks when they're young,
But you didn't realise then, but you were probably training pretty well by pedaling your downhill bike everywhere.
Probably, yeah. You're going to get strong doing that, eh? Especially those old rigs.
Yeah, they're not light. But so that would have been 06, and then on to 07. You might have you went on to the orange then, and then did the full national series, or?
Yeah, pretty much. Just in senior men, and I think I was doing all right, having some good battles with Betty. For the
Bedford.
Senior. Yeah.
Shout out to the man behind the Roto's dirt jumps, Betty B himself.
Yeah, that man knows how to ride a bike. And I think probably the most memorable race of that was the Wellington National Champs again. And Rufus and I decided, good mate Rufus, to sort of wing it, save a bit of coin because it was in Wellington. We couldn't really afford to get to North Island, but
got to go across the ferry, so it's already chewed up quite a bit of your budget.
Yeah, exactly. So we just parked up and picked and jumped on the ferry with tramping bags on and the downhill bikes, and then did a big mission through Wellington to the top of the downhill track up there.
On the downhill bike.
Yeah, on the downhill bike. And then
It would have been a slow pedal because it's quite a way up to where that track is.
Yeah, it is up past the windmill, and we had to get groceries and stuff, and we were all camped up there, and then the next day Rufus broke his collarbone on the first run.
Oh no!
And then the night before the race, there was a huge storm. He only had a tarpaulin; he didn't have a tent. Yeah. But both of our tents and stuff, we were just holding them the whole night, shivering because it was that big a storm.
Oh, what? That's the night of the race.
Yeah, night of the race. He's got a broken collarbone, holding onto a tarpaulin with one arm the whole night. And then, after that weekend, we were like, oh, that went pretty well. We could probably go to Europe and give this a crack,
Really?
Just do the same thing.
Yeah.
Just get tents. That's how the idea started of going overseas. But I mean, the racing, I don't think. I was second in national champs behind Scott Bedford that year.
And the senior.
And the senior, yeah. So solid, but not amazing. But still just keen to go and try some World Cups and just have a big OE really.
What year was that? That's 2000.
2008 was.
8, yeah. Would have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, my first season in Europe myself.
That's right. Yeah. We both had a bit of an adventure on our hands, though.
Yeah. We'll dig into that soon. But you're camping in the bush for the race, so that you just worked out that was an easy way to do it, or that was no problem.
Cheap way to do it. And I think I was so sort of ignorant that I thought that wouldn't actually slow me down majorly.
Really? And you just roll up there by the windmill and just find a bit of bush that looked comfy, or what?
Yeah. Just try to tuck ourselves away from the wind, but turns out we did a terrible job of that. Just got blown straight off. But sort of, I was born up like. My dad took us hunting and camping the whole time, and Rufus was into it as well. So it was nothing new. We were just bringing the bikes this time, really.
Yeah, and then so that spurred you on to have a go and go over to Europe to try and do it there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Go camping in Europe.
About it. Yeah, basically just a massive camping OE in Europe with the bikes, and like just growing up watching all the Earth series and things. I just wanted to go and see and ride the tracks if I could. Yep. And I was pretty excited for that. And managed to get a New Zealand top so I could race as, I didn't have any points, but I could race as part of the team for New Zealand, so it was good.
How did you manage to fund it at that point?
There was a bit of working in my final year of school, and also did a bit of clinical studies research with
yes, I like this. So the clinical studies, what did you do there?
Just giving back to science, mate. Just it's just there was a couple of
explain to the listeners how it all works in that department.
Basically, you go in. I took a couple of weeks off school for one of them, actually. And
weeks off school.
And, this one was breast cancer research. And I think, I can't remember it too well, but there was basically a form of medicine which was like an injection. And they just wanted to test a new pill and just make sure it did the same thing and flushed out of the body at the same rate and everything like that.
Yeah.
They're keen on healthy people, young, keen, healthy people to get in there and lend themselves up. And it was quite tough. That first one was 12 days, and we couldn't go outside or anything like that. So,
almost like a lockdown. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. My first taste of lockdown.
Yeah.
So my mate Brad Anderson and I got in there and did that, and we earned a fair bit of money, like more than what you could. Sort of working part-time.
What would you get for one of those drag trials?
Back that one, I got $5,500 Kiwi.
Shit, so, that was good money back then too.
Oh, that was huge. That was huge for me. And then, also got helped out. I did a video competition on Vorb, and I managed to win that. And they gave me $2,000 of SRAM parts to put on my bike.
Yeah.
So I managed to sort of put a few different.
Did that just spec the rig out, or did you sell the parts?
It spec'd the rig out, and I managed to get a new frame from James Barron from a Morwood frame. So she was a brand spanking rig for the trip. First build was overseas actually, so it was.
So you just took all the parts with you and built it overseas.
Yeah.
And that first trip was just you and Rufus, or who did you head over with? Yeah.
We started off with Rufus and I. Rufus didn't hang on for very long. He was out of money within 3 weeks, so he had to go to London. And but yeah, so I ended up by myself for some of it, and with another flatmate, Greyboy, who's I live with these days. He came over for a stint as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was your first race over there? That would have been Andorra then.
Yeah, it was Andorra.
Yeah.
I missed that Maribor one that you went to.
Yeah.
But Andorra, that was a pretty rough introduction to Europe camping, to be honest. The first night we swear we were stalked by a wolf or something.
Really?
We were straight off the plane, straight in there, and we were just lying in the bush beside our bike.
So you flew to Barcelona.
Yeah.
For that, and then you got the bus that takes you straight to Andorra.
Yeah.
And just walked up into the bush, or you picked up some food and then walked up into the bush?
Yeah, straight into the bush, and we were just, it was wet, and we were just sleeping on top of our bike boxes.
Oh.
And there was just this growling just circling us, and we're like, we're from New Zealand, there's no predators or anything.
Yeah.
And we were shitting ourselves. I was like, what is making that noise in those woods? But got through that night, and then it was straight into the worst rain that Andorra had seen in over 100 years.
It was a wet race, I think, that one.
It was a wet race. We were there quite early, and we just basically just battled for 2 weeks.
2 weeks? Oh, you were there 2 weeks early?
Quite early, must have been about 10 days or something. Must have just been when we could get cheap flights.
Yeah.
And we were just hanging out.
You definitely weren't flying in for the early preparation.
It was not. It was giving myself time to build the bike, have a few runs.
And Rufus, he's actually a mechanic he actually runs his own shop now, Back Alley Bikes. Was he actually a mechanic then, or? He
was, yeah. So it's a pretty handy guy to have with me.
So he did most of the work then?
Yeah, he did. He put it together with the multi-tool that we had, pretty much.
Yeah. The multi-tool did the job though, and you got it running. And then did you do a few runs before the race came around, or
we didn't really
have
too
pricey for a lift, or?
Yeah, definitely. We wouldn't have been spending money on ski lifts.
And I'm not sure if they ran the actual bike park then, because we were racing only that top course up the top there.
Exactly. Yeah. We went for a recce one day and walked up to the top, and it was just snow all over the track, and we were just freezing. But just to check it out, and but we were basically just our tents weren't overly waterproof, so we were just battling the whole time to stay warm and dry.
Yeah,
pretty rough.
I definitely remember Andorra. When it gets late in the evening, it gets pretty bloody cold, no matter if it's raining or not.
Yeah, exactly. And the locals weren't very nice to us either. I remember that.
You definitely don't quite fit in Andorra, which is actually a tax haven for the wealth of the world.
Yeah. Yeah, we were just absolute scum of the earth there. We were, pedaling downhill bikes with tramping bags through those tunnels to get from one place to another.
Yeah. So through the highway tunnels.
Yeah, it was the only way. I mean, we tried to get over one.
Yeah, because you look on the map, you can't really. How do you get through that mountain? Andorra's all mountains. You're buggered.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we just waited for the quiet time with traffic and tried to get through there. And cops weren't happy and everything. So, but we managed to get to the actual place where the race was and set up. But the race itself wasn't the best for me, but it was it was a good eye opening, just to be there and see all the World Cup riders and stuff. It's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
how did it go being your first World Cup and you go up to the top before that qualifying run? That would have been pretty intense.
Yeah, it's full on. A lot of chat, a lot of lead up to it. I knew it'd be hard. I knew it'd be sort of punching pretty hard to get in there, but definitely give it a good nudge. And I left with a bit of confidence actually because I smashed into a tree, just standard for me back then, and came a 120th in qualifying or something out of like a good 300 or something.
Big,
so I was like,
big numbers then, eh?
Yeah. I thought it's not too bad, like I might be in with a shot of qualifying at some point if I have a mean run, So I was pretty positive about it.
Yeah. And I think I went over the bars near the bottom. There was one chute and big hole at the bottom of it, I think. And I went over the bars and then I was like, I'd crashed in Maribor as well, so I was like, shit, I'm just going to have to pin it to the bottom. And then I snuck in 60-something. And then I actually had a good final and I got 30 seconds, so I was wrapped.
Yeah, it's impressive. Yeah, I remember being pretty stoked for you then.
Yeah.
First year, and you were just doing it rough as well, really, eh? But just with a roof over your head, maybe.
Probably a little less rough than you guys, though.
Yeah, well, you were good at socialising, so you could get in and get some help, I'm sure.
Yeah, I like to say hello to everyone. It definitely played in my favour.
Yeah, no, good work.
I was pretty excited with my 30-second and started celebrating. And then Nathan Rankin, actually, he's a fellow Kiwi World Cup racer. He decided it'd be a good idea to do a big backflip into the crowd at the after party. And the crowd, he was jumping off this big wall. The crowd quickly spread out of the way when they saw him coming feet first, and he just went straight on his head, and he was out cold pretty bad. Did you see any of that?
Yeah, I was right beside him actually. He was trying to get me to do the backflip first. I said, no way, mate.
But you were too smart. Or too sober.
I had a few drinks, but I still knew. Well, I wouldn't have called myself sober, but I still wasn't keen for a backflip. Just wasn't good at it. So
you'd never do that, no matter how many drinks you'd had.
Yeah, not straight onto the cobblestone street.
No, it was quite high. How high was it? It was a good.
Well over head.
Yeah, well over head height, and he went straight on his head, broke his collarbone, I think, as well. Brutal. And then I was trying to help him out because he was actually quite freaked out. And the police came in and grabbed me by the throat pretty much, and it started like a bit of an argument. I was like, no, I'm trying to help him. They didn't speak English really, or they didn't want to. And so I pushed them away and said, fuck off pretty much. And then once they'd cleaned Nathan up, they had a tape around him as if he was dead. So it looked quite serious. It looked like a crime scene, really. And then once they got rid of him, they all came to me, and I was like, shit, what do I do here? They just started bashing me. They took me up to the street away from the party. Did you see what happened there, or you witnessed?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they were just on a mission to get you.
Yeah.
You weren't.
I swore at them. I think no, I was not keen for this. I was pretty scared, to be honest.
And Rufus and I were following you actually, and then we they put you in the back of the cop car, and then we went and opened the door, and then you made a run for it, but then they got you again.
I made a run for it, and I tripped over the curb, I think.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. You just went down, and then they got you in there and absolutely floored it off into the streets. Yeah,
they got me with the baton a few times before they put me in the car, and then they handcuffed me, they cut my wrist, and then they just took off, and I was like, oh shit, where are we going here? Thought they're gonna take me up to the woods and just bash the shit out of me, but they ended up taking me to the local lockup, and they had me in there for overnight, but they did an alcohol test. I'd only just started getting into the beer, so I wasn't even that drunk. It wasn't really. I was more trying to help a fellow Kiwi down and out at that point. But they were pretty angry and they thought that I'd insulted them or something. So it was quite a scary time.
Yeah, it sounds like you were quite lucky to get out the next day, really.
Yeah, well, they wanted to know when my flight was, and then they made sure to let me out well after my flight.
Nice.
And they gave me a piece of paper like with a bank account, because I said I don't have much money, which we probably I wouldn't have had much. They gave me a piece of paper and said you have to pay this money into this bank account and then you can go. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. They said you got 2 weeks to do it. Off you go. And then I was like, sweet, see you later. Walk out, and then I'd never really been to that lower town because that bus took me right to the top. So I had to figure out where I was for a minute, and then they actually found a bus stop and caught the bus up. Walked up the street to my hotel and walked straight into you and Rufus.
Yeah. And we still had your hat. I remember you were stoked because when you were getting battened, your hat fell off, and I grabbed it after, and I was like, oh, yeah, keep your hat. And you're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would have been pretty wrapped with that because the hat would have been quite valuable at that point.
I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah, due to my low finances. But then you guys actually had an apartment maybe that night.
Yeah, we did for the night of we ran into we met a Tasmanian traveller, and the weather was getting too much for him.
Oh,
and he
I remember. Brad, I think was his name.
Brad, yeah. And so we all went in, and for the couple of nights of the race, we got like a roof over our heads, and then we all moved to Fort William the next race, and you jumped in with us.
Yeah. I was pretty worried that I wasn't going to be able to make it at one point because I was like, shit, what do I do here? Then to walk into you guys on the street was like my luckiest escape, really. And then Jason Marsh had taken all my stuff. So I had nothing to take with me. I just had my passport that was left at the hotel that I stayed at. And my passport and my wallet, I think. That might have been. Oh, yeah. And I just said leave my passport. And then I had just the clothes that I was at the after party. And we got a pretty cheap flight actually. Worked out good.
Yeah. Like a little EasyJet number, up to Fort William, and you were running a lightweight setup. And I remember they weren't that ugly, and they weren't that keen to let you in the border because you had nothing on you and you had no money. And I was like,
I didn't really look like a traveller.
Nah, and you had no equipment. It was all the alarm bells were going. Eh?
Yeah, I looked definitely more like a courier than a traveller. Yeah. But
we made it after a night.
Yeah, we arrived quite late at the airport, so we just decided to camp out underneath the chair.
Yeah, for sure.
It wasn't really the best sleep that I've had, but it would have been probably pretty nice for you guys after being in the bush in Enduro.
Yeah, we weren't too phased about the night in the airport, eh?
Yeah,
pretty happy. We were just worried about our bikes because we didn't have any bike boxes, so we just put them on the plane with the wheels beside them.
Really?
And we just taped the wheels on because the bike boxes were just just saturated. Of course.
The fresh bike wouldn't have been very fresh anymore already.
Nah, bent rotors, bent hanger, all sorts.
Really?
But
it made it. Yeah. And then we caught the bus up to Fort William, and I luckily walked straight into Bernard and got a lift with him. But how did it work out for you guys up there?
Yeah, we splashed out actually. We went to a campground so we could have like the toilet facilities and things.
Yep.
But it just meant that I had to commute on the downhill bike, out of Fort William and then up and over the hill every day.
It's about 14 k's or something.
Yeah, but that was, as you were saying before, I'm not sure of a commute. So yeah, lapped it over to there, and Fort William, yeah, it was pretty hard going.
Yeah.
I remember just being sort of a bit out of my depth.
Yeah, it was pretty
Just
rough.
like my hands and feet were just struggling to hang on, really.
Yeah. Yeah. So the qualifying didn't go well for you there.
Nah, I can't quite remember what happened. I think it ended in stitches for sure, though. Just
Oh,
standard
really?
story.
Shit.
Yeah. But yeah, around the same, sort of 100 to 120.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I had a reasonable qualifier, but I had an issue with my bike or something.
That's right.
My derailleur. I think I snapped my derailleur cable, so I only had the hardest gear. Something like that.
Yeah. But I remember you still put a decent bottom split down, just grinding away.
Yeah. And love a good grind, really.
Yeah.
Especially on the flat pedals.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
then in the race, actually my time got stuffed up, and there was quite a few riders that had the same, or a number of riders had the same issue, because there was a little girl that was banging the timing beam on the side of the finish shaft.
Yeah.
And then
And we did quick math and worked out you'd absolutely crushed it, eh?
yeah, well, that's what Marshy was pretty adamant about at that point, and I was like, shit, that would have been like a life changer at that point.
Yeah,
But
definitely. What did he think you'd come?
ninth, I think.
Love the grind, though.
Yeah, so that would have been actually better than my current best result, which is also in Fort William, of all places. Yeah.
True.
But
you love it.
yeah, must love the grind there. But
Yeah.
it didn't quite work out. The UCI wasn't keen to really look into the times so much, and they just played along with a time similar to my qualifying run.
Yeah, it's a bit of a sad story, eh?
Yeah,
But it would have given you a fair bit of confidence nonetheless, eh?
yeah, for sure. Probably too much. Yeah. But how long did you stay in Europe after that for that first season? You did a couple more races, or?
Yeah. My funds were drying up pretty fast by that point. It had been quite an expensive start to the trip, just with going from Spain to the UK and moving around. So I knew I just had to find, if I was going to, make my money last, I just needed to find a spot and just hang out, sit tight.
Yeah.
And Rufus had run out of money, and I'd heard all about Morzine through, other Kiwi guys who had been there before. And so I made my way there via some bad decisions, like a night in the Roman train station. There was a cheap flight to Rome, so I took that.
Oh man!
And then I go in the train station, and I was only young. Yeah, I was like 17 or something, or 18, and I just couldn't sleep because everyone was trying to take my bike box off me. It was rough in that train station. And
that's not a place you want to hang out late at night.
No. You couldn't go to the toilet because you got your bike box and everything, so it was a stressful time. But
you by yourself
finally,
too?
Yeah, by myself, yeah.
Shit. That's a character builder.
Yeah, I know, because I hadn't done much travelling out of, New Zealand, or definitely, spent most of my time just in Christchurch, and then I was just straight in the deep end, it was quite eye-opening. But you learn a lot at those times, eh? You just crack on, and finally made it across to Morzine. And I was in love with the place straight away. I was like, this is where I'm gonna hang out, and I knew I could do it cheap. The season pass was cheap, so like €120.
It was really cheap back then, eh?
Yeah. So I was like, keen to make it happen, and set up a campsite just above Morzine in the woods there, and managed to hang out there for 3 months. Didn't leave Morzine for 3 months. And my flatmate Greyboy came over and joined me for a bit of that in the tent as well, and it was just an awesome time. No stress, no worries, and met heaps of cool guys to ride with, and Jason Marsh helped me out a lot, and Chris Gilmurray, I was riding with him, and Yeah, it was awesome. Really good time.
How'd you keep your bike going for that long?
Yeah, it was on the bones of its ass the whole time, really.
Yeah.
And then just trying to, really buy things that you only really had to, you really needed, and
yeah.
Skimping. If you go at the back of bike shops, you find tires.
Some old tires.
Ball tires that you can run and things like that. And managed to get it down to living off about €1.50 a day.
Euro
up
50.
in the woods. Yeah, we had a pretty good system.
Yeah.
We just had like a 70-cent brioche. That would be breakfast and lunch.
Yeah.
Just half and half, and then your chocolate brioche. And then at night time we just had a campfire set up, and we just have like frozen chips. You buy them from a cheap supermarket, a couple of kgs, and we just have them and just fry them up on the campfire. So it was cheap and easy living, eh? Life was good. I lost 12 kgs, but
12 kgs.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have been
riding all day.
You wouldn't have been very heavy at that point either.
No, I was only slim pickings before that, so I didn't really notice though. I was just having the time of my life and loving it. A lot of the time my bike wasn't going, to be honest, so I was just like hiking mountains and just hanging out. I was happy with that. But definitely got a shitload of riding done.
Yeah, and it wasn't too wet that summer, so.
There was definitely wet points, yeah. But it was, it was good. We can't complain, eh?
Yeah. And you didn't do any more races that season, or I think you did Schladming, no?
Yeah, I did. I just waited for Schladming, and
so
that was quite funny.
Why did you just wait for that one?
Oh, I'd always seen that on Earth, and I was like, shit, I'm going to hang out for Schladming. I just wanted to go to Schladming, just tick it off, just to ride it, let alone race it. I'll be stoked. And I started doing a fair bit of riding with guys, like Craig Paddle and stuff, and then sort of through Craig, I met Marshy, and Marshy came up to the campsite actually and took some photos, and he wanted to put me in dirt mag at the time.
Oh yeah.
And I was just, a quiet young. I was not keen for any limelight, but nah, not keen for dirt mag. And then we came up with an agreement that if I qualified in Schladming, then he could put them in dirt mag.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he wouldn't. And so he was a legend. He gave me a lift to Schladming with Chris Kilmurray, and then he basically put every part of his bike on my bike to make it.
Yeah, he's probably, Jason Marsh is probably the man that's helped out the most Kiwi downhillers in Europe to make it pretty much.
Yeah, definitely.
He's also Greg Minard's mechanic now.
Yeah. He's
so
a smart guy.
He's moved on to bigger things, but he's still helping.
Yeah. He's still keen to lend a hand when he can, that's for sure.
So he fully spec'd your bike out?
Everything apart from the back wheel, basically, I was running was his. I got some pictures of him putting all his parts on, legend. Yeah. And the funny thing was, I was pretty motivated to qualify, and I went out of the qualifying gate, and the one part that I had that was previously on my bike, the back wheel, just blew up my freewheel straight off out of the gate.
Yeah.
And so I did the run, and it wasn't a bad run. I just couldn't really pedal out of some of those tight corners and things, of course.
Yeah.
And came down, and I was sitting about 76th, and I was absolutely blowing it because there's about 200 more people coming down.
Yeah.
And so that was the day. The funny thing, that was the day that the qualifying was on the same day as the race.
Yeah.
And so mate Graber was there watching, and we just started hammering the beers. And about an hour or so later, about an hour, drowning the sorrows type things.
Yeah.
I was pretty keen for that qualifying, and I thought I'd let Marshy down. Like shit, screwed it up. And then it was only like 10 or 15 riders left, and I was still in the top 80, and I was, I was shitting myself.
You're quite pissed at this point.
Yeah, and I've still got no back wheel. But thankfully they'd saved some big guns from the last 10. I don't know what happened, and then I got kicked back to 82nd or so.
So you just missed it.
Yeah, just missed it. And Marshy, I was relatively happy because Marshy couldn't do anything with those photos. But if they're
Right.
out there now, I'm keen to see those photos again. I haven't got too many photos of the Mowgli setup. That's the other
Yeah.
thing. I got nicknamed Mowgli from that time in my life.
So they took that living in the campsite everywhere to calling you Mowgli.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think some people in Morzine just started it up, and they just see little flashes of this hairy thing just off and on, just like a shadow, you know.
Coming out of the bush.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
coming out of the bush and going back in.
But so you weren't too disappointed to not qualify at that point because you're already on the BS pretty hard.
Exactly, yeah. It would have been a pretty interesting, spicy way to start your World Cup
Racing.
race train. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was pretty gone. I was pretty lightweight back then.
Definitely
So,
over the limit.
Yeah, I was over the limit. And was that the year?
That's
That
the
was the
year
year
Sam
that
won.
won. Yeah, so it was huge. It was huge. And Nathan did really well, I think, did he? Did he come
I
back
think
from
so.
Enduro? Yeah. He was like around 10th, and
Yeah.
so it was a good send off.
Yeah, you would have been pretty lit up by the time Blinky came down.
Oh, huge. Yeah. No, it was a big night for the boys, all the Kiwis. Just everyone involved was loving it, I think. It was good to be there.
Yeah, I was gutted that I couldn't do that one because it was so late in the year.
Oh, true. You're already back home.
Yeah, because they had a World Cup in Canberra, so I went back to Australia and did a month of work and then flew to Canberra.
Oh, yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. Pretty gutting to miss out on shopping, no, I bet.
Yeah, especially when Sam won as well.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm pretty sure I was up in the middle of the night watching it, and it was pretty unreal. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, man.
Yeah. That was the dream. The dream for Kiwi downhill on that day.
Yeah. It's huge.
So that wraps up 2008. After coming, you would have flown back after that, and then what did you think then? You just back to work, or?
Yeah, flew back after 5 days in Vancouver Airport. Due to some
this is another story that we can really get into. What's the that movie called, The Terminal?
Right, I have heard. Yeah. I don't know whether I've seen it, but I
think it's
might
called
have
The Terminal.
Yeah.
But so this was you were literally the terminal at that point. You wanted to fly home, and then what happened?
Yeah, early on in the trip, when I sort of extended it to try and race Schladming, and I extended it because I knew I could live cheap in Morzine. And then at the time, I was pretty confident. I was like, oh, if I live this cheap, then I'll probably have money on the way home to take a stop off and go and visit Whistler.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'll book 5 nights.
Cheapest place in the world.
Yeah, I had no idea, obviously. I didn't even know it was far out of Vancouver and stuff, So, but yeah, obviously by that point I had no chance at all. I had about $40 to my name when I landed in Vancouver, and try to change every day. Try to change to the Kiwi flight, but I just had to wait 5 nights until I could fly.
So you go to the desk and ask, "Can I get on this one today?" And they just say no, and then would you see the same people again the next day, or? Yeah,
there was questions being asked, but it only the last 2 nights was when the security were heavy on my case. And then they just felt sorry for me in the end and let me just stay. But yeah, it was a grubby thing. I found a photo the other day. The jeans were just dirt, and I was just curled up in a ball for 5 days. And there was a nice lady at the airport who was giving me muffins for $1, and I was just living off muffins, and I was just looking forward to getting back to New Zealand and having a massive feed of fish and chips,
Yeah. So it was 5 days just eating muffins.
Yeah, muffins pretty lush compared to I was getting pretty sick of the brioche by that point, so it wasn't too bad.
You would have been at some points probably pretty depressed sitting at the airport with. You wouldn't have had a laptop, a phone, or anything.
Nah, didn't even have a phone the whole trip. So
How'd you kill the day?
I read books.
Alright. So, but
Just
you
went to the bookstore and just and
borrowed
returned
one.
them.
Borrowed
Yeah,
one.
borrowed them. They had a
Under
library there, it turns out. A free library.
under the jersey, was it?
Yeah, it may have been, but
A
I think
rental.
it was a, a rental setup. Past the time, I read a few books in that 5 days, actually.
Yeah. Well, I don't imagine they would have lent them to you anyway if you'd asked. So it's probably the
Nah,
best option at that point.
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty, not the best looking back on, but it was desperate times, so.
No, you got to do what you got to do sometimes.
Yeah, got to read a book,
Yeah. Well, if you're there for 5 days, you would have probably done a fair bit of reading.
Yeah.
You would have been well
Yeah,
educated
no,
arriving back in New Zealand.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I was ready to go. I was pretty stoked with that trip, though. It was a good
Yeah.
eye-opener, and I was definitely left wanting to do it again, that's for sure.
Yeah. And then from there, how'd you proceed? 2009, did you
I
do it
didn't,
again or?
nah, no, I didn't have the money,
Oh,
not enough clinical studies, but
yeah.
I went over to Chile, actually, for trail building
Oh,
with
yeah.
Oddsy and Jeff.
Yeah.
So 3 month stints over in Patagonia, Chile, in Coyhaique.
So a
And
lot of the, to explain the trail building, a lot of the young Kiwi mountain bikers have paved their way overseas by doing these trail building trips for this wealthy American guy, Ken Dart, that owned all these properties around the world. That James Doddsy himself, he had met him in the forest once upon a time, and I think he had asked him who built the trails that he was riding, and then Doddsy was like, "Yeah, it was me. This is the story I know anyway." And then suddenly he was asking him to come and build trails all over the world. So he had to quickly call upon most of the New Zealand downhill community to come and work for him.
Yeah,
And it was
definitely. It
well
was
paid
amazing.
too.
It was. It was
Yeah.
top dollar. And yeah, our skills were sought after, so we were just getting stuck in and doing a good job over there. So it was amazing,
Yeah, those first trips were hard work also.
Yeah.
But
Byron Scott cracked the whip. He was my team leader in the first trip, and yeah, it was awesome.
Does any the other Byron came out on a few evenings or?
Yeah, it was some big nights. Yeah.
Some questionable nights in where was it? Coyhaique.
Yeah. We were locked up out, and across a lake in the middle of nowhere, and then once every fortnight or something, you'd be set loose in this small town, which pretty much just running gravel roads, and then we would go to Pera Roja, the nightclub. The local bar, and make the most of it. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, I remember.
I had a similar experience too, actually. One night, got dropped off in the middle of nowhere in the cop car.
Oh, really? What happened there? Explain this one.
I got kicked out of the nightclub. Obviously, we were pretty rowdy, the Kiwis, and then the cops found me climbing on the roof, 2-story roof, trying to get back in through the top. So they got me and just drove me into the middle of nowhere. They put me in this little cage in the back of this cop car, and they were just swinging around these corners. But I was holding, I was like, "Come on, guys, you can do better than that." You just hold it in the edge, no drum. And then they just dropped me off, and in the middle of nowhere, and then left me, and I was like, "Oh, here we go." And then like 2 minutes later, a taxi just drove past in the middle of, just cruising past, and he just took me straight back to the bar.
Oh, you're lucky. Luck was with you that night.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, no, it was just hard work and some good trails done. And that's actually where, you start, my eyes were open to like trail riding, not just downhill. We were pedaling up and we were getting really, really fit. Yeah. And I was like, shit, this is a lot of fun. Like something about rallying down a track with like a small travel bike was already at that point like, this is awesome.
Probably the same for me when I first did Portugal and then Chile, I think. I would have been doing Portugal when you were in Chile, and then I did Chile in 2010. And just really got into riding a smaller bike, eh?
Yeah, just makes
I
even the
think it
simple
was the
trails
fittest,
just rowdy, eh?
fittest I'd ever been coming home from that trip.
Yeah, I would have been the same for sure.
Yeah.
And then and that would have got us over to 2010. Went over to Europe again. Myself, you'd pretty much hit the big time by that point.
Yeah, I was into my second Italian team with Kenda Playbiker, and I had a mechanic and everything. Living the dream, really. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good to see. It was good to see. Yeah, we tried to step it up that year and got a van. Because we weren't keen to. We'd learned that you need a bit more than a tent
to race well
to make a good job. Yeah, yeah. So we decided to get a van, but then 2 weeks in, Flowrider we were driving through Geneva. He was driving, and he was looking at this girl on the footpath, and we just rear-ended Rupert's van right in front of us, wrote it off, and we just had to get out of there.
Didn't he hit someone else?
Yeah, well, it was a 4-car stack-up. So we hit Rupert, and then they hit 2 more cars, nice cars as well.
Yeah.
And, of course, we weren't
insured.
We had nothing going on, so we just loaded everything into Rupert's van and got out of there. And then the rest of that trip was once again in the woods.
So Rupert's van wasn't too bad.
Nah,
in comparison
we
to
just
yours.
Yeah.
Shit.
So we were just hitching rides with those boys, and by that point it was quite a big thing for Kiwis to get over there and hang out in Morzine, and there was like a car park where everyone parked up and hung out together and stuff. So it was a different vibe than the Mowgli days, but it was still good.
But I remember coming down to the campsite or to play at the car park because I was staying in Blinky's apartment, living the life of luxury there, and I remember coming down to play at the car park a few times with Frisbee or whatever, and checking out the tree house that you guys have built to live in.
Yeah. Obviously, the lucky guys with the vans were in the car park, but we were across a river in the bush. And Rufus, who I was there with again, had built a tree hut, and we had a good setup there. We had a fireplace with a grate, and it was everything we needed there.
It was a pretty cool tree house, really, but I can't imagine sleeping in there.
Funny story was because we all had tents. The circus came to town and they parked up in that car park. So all the vans left, and James Hogan and I were in tents. So we took our tents and left. But Rufus's treehouse was his only shelter, so he had to stay there. And then they had the lions just in a pen just across the river, and he's trying to sleep the whole time. And there's just lions roaring, and he was just losing it. Yeah, he couldn't leave. He couldn't sleep anymore.
No, because he's built a treehouse, so it was permanent. It was a permanent structure.
Yeah, those lions, they knew he was in there. They could smell him.
No, they would have been hungry.
Yeah, they wouldn't have been much meat on him, though.
No, because I remember he was running on the €1 budget at that point also.
Exactly, yeah. He was running a one can of ravioli, like breakfast, lunch, and tea. So just chip away at it throughout the day.
Oh, just one can for the day. Shit.
Yes.
And you were on the same budget then, or you'd step things
a little
up
bit more. A little bit more, eh? I'd step things up, obviously, thanks to the trail building, and just knowing that I had to. That's probably why I didn't go in 2009. You got to save up a bit more to take it a bit more seriously, and try and get a roof over your head. Definitely for the nights of the race, at least, to try and put a decent effort.
And then your best race then would have been probably to do a good qualifying run in Champery.
Yeah, it was the usual story all year with me, with my usual downhill everything. Every race I did, I was just crashing in every run.
Yeah.
And I just crashed in every quali and stuff. And Champeree was no different, but everyone else was just crashing more. So
Yeah.
I had 2 crashes and just, qualified 48th, I think. I had some good splits up the top.
Yeah.
And all the Kiwis did well there. You were 5th, I think.
Yeah, and Blinky first. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it was big.
Yeah.
Good for us. And,
And then
absolutely.
you centered a
Screwed up
bit too hard in the final. Probably the
Yeah,
same as
yeah,
me. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, well, you still got to the bottom with a tidy placing. I just sent it into the dirt mag top 5 pictures of the day, doing a knick-knack
Yeah.
off the bike. Yeah,
Right off the bike too.
If you Google image Joseph Nation Champeree, you can see a hell of a shot from that race run. But I'd already completed downhill at that point. For me, just qualifying at a World Cup was just exactly what I wanted to do. So I was stoked. I was just celebrating on the way down, rolling my way down.
Even though you're eating shit the whole time, that was the celebration run.
Yeah, I was on the live feed, and my brothers were watching and stuff. It was good times. I was stoked.
Oh yeah, because they did the 80 then as well, eh?
Yeah, they sort of took a few bits from everyone. So
yeah, sure. Good times.
So yeah, no, it was good. It was good. But after that, I definitely decided I didn't have the mental game for downhill at all. I just could not stay on the bike. Just hands down, I'd just be 120%. I remember doing runs with you in Fort William that year, and you were just just do that same speed and you'll qualify easy.
Yeah.
And then I just come out of the gate and just, I don't know what would happen. I'd just absolutely blow up. I'd just push too hard, get too excited, too nervous, too stiff, and I just couldn't make it happen. So threw the towel in pretty much and just went to university.
Yeah, and then so it was a few years of not much riding, or you keep riding through that? Yeah.
Locally I was just riding, and I got a trail bike then, and it wasn't until the last year of uni that enduro sort of came around, and there was an EWS there, and I was like, shit, that sounds like a bit of me.
Yeah.
And I just got stuck into my training while I was at uni, and then made it over for a third privateer effort over in Europe with 2 other guys, James Hampton and Hayden Lee, and a tiny van.
Sizzle.
Sizzle, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a tight budget again, and a tight van. And but the enduro was good. And I did what I needed to do that year. Just managed to get some good top 40s and the EWS, and I won the German national champs and stuff like that, and managed to get supported by Bergamot for 3 years after that.
Yeah, so that was really the breakout year for you.
Yeah, the enduro was good because I could still do my crashing, and you still end up where you sort of roughly where you want to be, where you deserve to be. Because you've got your speed, fitness, and you can have a few crashes and you can still end up there. Whereas downhill, the milliseconds and how dialed you had to be, it was just over my head,
And you'd probably, after a few races with crashes, you'd probably start crashing a bit less, start figuring it out, or you were still crashing all the time? Yeah.
No. Something at uni, basically, I came out and I was the opposite, really. I was riding conservatively, and I was, if anything, I needed to push hard, really. I was just conserving on the downhills and sprinting where I could on the uphills and things like that.
Yeah.
And that was paying off quite well. But then as the EWS progressed, you just had to start putting it on the line on the downhill, and it just got progressively harder, so you get faster every year, but everyone else would as well.
Yeah.
And the 3 years on Bergamot were good. Probably a highlight was that year with you in Spain. That was a bit of a good story, wasn't it?
Oh, that's a ripper. That was because I was just starting to do enduro, so I was privateer with you guys. And then
you jumped in with us.
Yeah, and Grey Boy and the band.
Yeah.
And
morning of the race, it was all over. Right? It was Grey Boy had locked the keys and
with all the bikes in there. Yeah.
And it was a difficult van. We nicknamed it Alcatraz because you just could not get in and out sometimes as well. So the only option was to go and ask the campground manager if he had an angle grinder.
Yeah.
And we were angle grinding our way into the van. Was your bike in there as well?
I think so, yeah.
Or you had? Yeah.
Yeah.
And luckily, yeah, we made a man-sized hole through from the front into the back, so we could crawl through and get the keys.
Yeah.
And luckily, the Spanish race was about an hour and a half behind schedule, so we could both start.
Yeah, because I think Grey Boy was starting. He'd missed his start time at that point, and he was pretty stressed about the whole thing. I was just really enjoying the comedy of it.
Yeah, you were relishing it, weren't
you? Yeah. It was a classic moment.
Yeah, it was. It was good. There's some good footage of Steve Murphy was helping us, just angle grinding through a man-sized hole through the top there. And
it wasn't a quick job. It was quite a big hole to cut.
Yeah, it took a while, and it was all a waste of time for me. My bike just snapped in half on the first stage. So.
Oh yeah, your bike was already looking pretty bad before that.
Yeah. And then it was all over. So but yeah, that was how it went. And then after that, Scott bought out Bergamot and got rid of the teams and stuff. And then I was back to my privateer ways again.
Shit. So 4 years of privateer.
At that 2018, I was just on the specialised New Zealand program.
Yeah.
And did what I needed to do there as well. Just got some top 20s.
Yeah.
And went around with the help of Rob Williams and James Shirley guys in vans, and you get pretty good at the whole privateering, like you're living out of a van, but you can have a pretty dialed setup and do what you need to do. You're not missing out on too much. Yeah.
Yeah. So
and then
that solid year then put you on to getting with Pole now. Pole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pole, that's the one. Pole.
Yeah.
So just before the last race I did in 2018, I was in Whistler, and just before I flew out in the morning, I went for a ride and met Leo Kolkinen, the engineer at Polo.
Yeah.
And that was pretty awesome, mate. We just got on really well straight away, and I'd had meetings with teams before, managers, and he was a lot different. He was just talking about racing and like the bike and the performance. He was really focused on all of that, as opposed to other things that the other team managers think are very important, and not wanting to spec his bikes with parts that would impede the performance at all.
Yeah.
Like even if it meant that they have to buy the good products to put on race bikes and things like that. So it was pretty awesome. And then just went for a lap in Whistler with him and got on. Obviously, I was impressed with the bike. Really impressed. And then stoked. In 2019, I was a pro.
You'd had a good race in Whistler as well at that point, I think.
Oh, yep. I'd had a top 10. I came ninth in a race in Whistler.
Yeah.
Which was my personal best.
So he would have been
top 20s over the years, but
pretty excited about your good race as well.
Yeah. I think he was pretty stoked, and it was only a couple of months later than that. We were at a tent camp in Madeira, and
actually, the day before you flew out to Madeira, or the weekend before you flew out, you did quite a ride though.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was more than the preparation for a team camp.
It was, yeah. We did the Le Petit Brevet on Banks Peninsula.
Yeah.
And it's no joke. It's like 8,500 meters climbing and 300 kilometers. And we camped out there as well. And once again, this was with Rufus. And it was a big effort, because you got to basically be self-sufficient. You got to bring all your food. So we just put buckets on the front of our bikes and backs and just had potatoes and all sorts going on. And then I was straight back. We got back pretty late. And then at 6 a.m. the next morning, I was flying out to Madeira to team camp.
You slept well on the flight or you were still too sore?
No, I slept. My legs were sore, but managed to get some sleep. And luckily, because it was there was no stop in the 3 weeks. It was all on.
Yeah. So you flew straight into a serious team camp after doing 300 Ks and 8,500 meters, And it's
Yeah,
no short trip to go from Christchurch to Madeira.
exactly. Yeah, like a
Yeah,
14, 12, and a 5-hour flight or something. So it was a big job. Um, and then it was, just straight at, like, even on the first day I got there, we were riding, I think,
yeah.
and testing out Leo's new bike, the Stamina,
Hmm.
and it was all on, straight into time lapse and things like that. So it was pretty eye opening for me. I hadn't been a part of anything like that before, but it was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, how did it feel going from the full privateer onto like a full, at least the testing setup and being in a team?
Yeah, it was huge. I didn't really realize the difference it would make, and how, like, you've got other people that are just focusing on you getting faster.
Hmm.
And especially guys like legends like Matty Laokonen being the team
Yeah,
manager. You're doing runs with him, and he's following you, and you're following him, and he's giving you advice and things like that. It was pretty eye opening. Made me feel like I definitely cracked it at that point. I was
yeah,
stoked, and yeah, everything. Everything. The preparation for 2019 and everything after that team camp was just dialed. I was fit.
yeah,
Didn't have to worry about anything really for the first time, and
yeah,
so coming into last season, I was pretty confident, that's for sure.
yeah. And then what ended up happening during the season? I don't know what point you got an injury, but at what point was that?
I started off in Rotorua, and I snapped a chain and blew up my derailleur, which wasn't too
Yeah,
good, but I knew the pace was there. I'd come third in, like, the longest stage there,
yeah,
so I knew my fitness and my pace was there, so I was confident. And then after that, we went straight to Tasmania, and I just wanted to get a good, solid race in, like, no mistakes and
yeah,
not push it too hard. And I was 13th there, I think, just on the same second as you.
yeah,
You were
yeah.
12th, I think, in front of me. And
That was good race
so,
that
yeah, it
one.
was pretty. Oh, I know, yeah. Looking
Yeah,
forward to getting back there. It's a hell of a spot.
yeah,
So, yeah, I was really confident after that. I was like, shit, I can crack on from here and hopefully move up and things. And then just a stupid crash locally doing some laps, but
yeah,
just destroyed my elbow really badly,
yeah.
basically.
What
A
was
lot.
the injury itself?
It's called a terrible triad, and it's when you basically put your wrist out, and your wrist doesn't break, but the ulna dislocates and the
Yeah,
radial head snaps off,
yeah,
and some other ligament and tendon damage, obviously. And the surgeon, I had about a 4.5 hour surgery, 5 hour surgery, and the surgeon just screwed the broken bone back together and stitched up the dislocation, and then basically just really motivated to get back on that season, and pushed the recovery pretty hard, and got over to Whistler,
yeah,
where it was rideable. It was definitely rideable, and I just assumed it was going to get better, as injuries do.
yeah.
And
Normally,
yeah, they were riding. I was riding pretty well. I thought I was ready to race, and then obviously I was struggling because I couldn't twist at all. I
yeah.
had no supination or pronation.
So you're
Uh,
just holding on solid.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So I was just sort of had to ride like that and had to counter it with this, and obviously it was really weak as well. But I still thought I was riding pretty well. But you've just got to be dialed to be at the top end, So I was
yeah.
Whistler and North, so I was in the mid-30s, and I was going for it, sort of thing, but it just wasn't. I just wasn't riding how I usually did, and my
But
fitness wasn't quite
but
there.
considering your elbow, you weren't going too bad.
No, I was pretty happy because
Yeah,
it was pretty painful actually, and what I was noticing is that it was getting a lot worse, which was annoying. And by the end of the season, Zermatt and finale Trophy of Nations, it was quite painful, and quite the movement was getting more restricted.
yeah.
And so what had actually happened is not only were the screws unscrewing, my new bone had pushed out the screws into the joint. The shattering of the bone fragments had left bone chips in the muscle.
Yeah.
I think usually they dissolve, but this time they were growing in my muscle and locking everything up.
Oh,
And it's called heterotopic bone, I think.
yeah,
So there's a lot of business going on. So straight after the last season, I had another surgery, same surgeon. Yeah, he was basically like it was absolutely destroyed in there, and
So
he had to.
you'd been pretty much racing the second half of the EWS with an elbow that didn't bend or move.
No, it certainly didn't twist, and then it didn't straighten, and it was really painful when you moved it. So it was quite hard going, but it was good to be there and good to carry on the relationship with Paulet, and they were awesome. They were really supportive, even though I wasn't racing at the very top end. We had Lee, my teammate, killing it, and so I was just there and getting it done, and then managed to have another surgery, and they took the joint right out and cut all the ligaments out and reshaped it all and got rid of another 5-hour surgery, and it's good to go now.
Serious surgery though.
Yeah, no, it was big. It was big. I didn't really understand when I first did it how big it was going to be, and we're about 1 year on now today from when I did it, and it's sore sometimes and stuff. You still know it's a big injury today even, but it's at the point where I can ride like my old self again, so it's pretty exciting.
That's got to be a good feeling after going through all of that and racing when you're not really close to 100%.
Yeah, exactly. And it's telling yourself that those results, weren't your best effort. And, sometimes you just get down, you're like, oh, shit, maybe I do belong there. And then, not until now when I can ride again, I'm like, oh, no, I was absolutely screwed. I wasn't, I can see footage of myself and I can feel what I was trying to do. And the
sitting a bit funny and, Shit.
And even surgery, they take it out of you as well and getting back on the top of the fitness after that and things. So, good to go now, ready to go whenever the world's ready.
I don't know when that will be, but good to hear that you've come back from that.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Yeah, it's taken a while. A few surgeons said it was a career ender, but just a lot of sort of hard work and pushing through it.
So, up or to date, what has been your best race so far? Probably that Whistler race, or out of any race you could pick, if you could pick your best race, what would it be?
It's got to be a top 10 in Whistler. That was pretty special.
Yeah.
I felt like that was actually on the Bergamont. It was the year before the Specialized, and felt like I was relatively undergunned. Like, people were getting into the bigger trail bikes then, and Whistler was known as an aggressive downhill sort of a place, and I had a small little 140mm travel and things like that. But
did you have the Manitou forks then, or?
Yeah, and but we rallied at home and had a really good. The first stage went top of the world and into Ride Don't Slide, and that was a tough stage, and I was blowing up at the bottom, but people were just blowing up more. So I was just passing people, even though I was just hanging on, not feeling like I was riding very well. I was just passing people, and then came sixth on that stage and just hung on to a top 10 over the day. So it was definitely the best race for me. It was awesome.
Very good. So going forward now, if we do get back racing, what would be the goals for this year? Now, do you feel like you can be back to 100%, or you're still building back from this injury?
Yeah, no, definitely by the time we're racing again, I will be 100%. And I've kept pretty busy during lockdown, still motivated.
Looks like it on the social media.
Yeah, going for it, mate. Going for it. It's a good time for social media. I haven't been hammering that in my career, but now it's time to, really give it a good nudge. Follow the master. And just start posting, and people love it. So but not only that, I've been keeping fit on the road bike, and motivated, and I'll be in the gym now that we can get back into the gyms and stuff. So definitely look to sort of carry back on where I left off in Tasmania, I think, and mix it up with you boys around the top 15. It'd be nice.
Yeah, very good. Finally, we've got one question. I think it's from a guy by the name of Andrew O'Connell. You might know him.
I know that man. One of my first sponsors.
Is he? He's actually my first sponsor. Yeah, he's my first sponsor. Yeah. So Andrew's asking, what size pole fits him best?
Well, I think he could take a pretty solid size pole, that guy. So yeah.
No, he's asking you which size pole fits you best.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I'm a medium. I'm a medium
All
pole
right.
rider. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let him know that. Yeah.
How stiff does he like his pole?
Um,
That's
Larry's actually done really well there. There's a bit of torsion there, side to side, so not overly stiff.
all right, not overly stiff.
I don't like a really stiff ride. I don't think it's good. So
Likes
yeah,
a bit of flex, yeah.
a bit of flex, yeah.
And bit of a rewind. We had I remember a while back. I actually lived with you guys. I think probably at one point, and then I remember Justin Leov. He made a comment to you. I can't remember what it was, but I'll just dig that one up. About your partying, I think, because at one point in downhill you were known as a bit of a party animal.
Yeah. Things have changed massively, but definitely that was probably the reason. Well, a lot of the reason I was not staying on my bike all the time is because a lot of these races I'd be hungover.
Yeah, yeah,
And I remember I had a shocking time. Cam Cole and Justin were doing a downhill race here down Lava Flow in Christchurch, and I was at the top and I was vomiting because I was that hungover, and I don't remember what the comment was, but yeah, I think they were both pissed off because I just wasn't trying and stuff, and I think I've always looked up to Justin and certainly try to follow his way into enduro.
Yeah.
But it took him a while to realise that I wasn't the same guy that I was racing downhill.
So he still thought you were that crazy guy that's going to vomit before the.
I remember giving him a message for a bit of advice, but yeah, didn't get too much back because I think he's just like, wow, he's not really going to care. He's just the same old Joe that was, just drinking all the time and things. Just likes a good party.
Yeah, but probably you wouldn't take those years away if you could anyway. It's probably good to live through that.
It was good. It was definitely a good time, and I feel like I've, can put that right behind me now. And even when people are drinking these days, and even after EWSs and stuff, I'm like, nah, crack on. You guys can do that. I've done that. I'm not really into it anymore, which is all good. And now I just fully focus on the training and keeping fit. So it's a good way to be, I reckon.
And sticking with the Pole team for the rest of the season, or what's the plan?
Yeah, for sure. Stoked to stay on board and keep dialing in the Pole and definitely see where it goes. Exciting.
All right. Well, we're hoping that we can get back racing at some point this year, and hopefully see you where you want to be and have a good time doing it.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Thanks a lot for getting me on the podcast. Long time listener. I haven't missed a win or lose yet. So
I've only done one episode, but
yeah, didn't miss it. Yeah.
Thanks for all the stories as well. It's been bloody good.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Good trip down memory lane.
Yeah. Well, that's it from Joe Nation, our second episode. So cheers, Joe.